Welcome to the Beyond Vision podcast, where we focus on the human side of advanced eye care. Join us in exploring the way we approach our collective pursuit of excellence. In each episode, we'll uncover the inspiring stories of how our vision, mission, and core values shape the way we love and care for each other and our patients. Hear from our passionate team and discover what sets Vance Thompson Vision apart in the world of advanced eye care.
Hi, I'm Megan Petermann, today's host of Beyond Vision, a podcast by Vance Thompson Vision. We are here to show you that we are beyond just patient care and advanced eye care, but we are all about our team and culture and being the best we can. If you are interested in learning more about advanced eye care, we do have a companion podcast, which is Advanced Patient Care, that you can find on Spotify. So let's get started. Today we are joined by Shawnda Geiselhart, who is our Executive Director at Vance Thompson Vision Alexandria. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be here. I can't wait.
We are excited to have you. So let's get started. Tell us about you. Who is Shawnda Geiselhart?
Shawnda Geiselhart is a wife, a mom of two young boys, a friend, a colleague, and a woman of deep faith. And I love to spend a lot of time with my family, with my work family, when I'm not wrangling two little boys.
I hear that. Well, before we dig deeper into some of those subjects, tell us a little bit about how you found yourself at Vance Thompson Vision, because it's not exactly the traditional way of joining our team.
I joined with Dr. Debbie Ristvedt in 2014 as her part-time scribe. That was prior to us, of course, joining with Vance Thompson Vision. We were a small town eye care provider in Alexandria, Minnesota. As Dr. Debbie was looking forward to growing her practice and surgical care, it was really a chance encounter with Dr. John Burdall at a Hawaiian Eye meeting, and really that's how this all came about. It was a very
seems organic.
Very organic way of us joining with this awesome practice, and that was 6 years ago.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah,
it was 6 years ago.
hard to believe. So I started within the practice, like I mentioned, as her part-time scribe. I worked various roles as a clinic manager, as our optometric liaison for quite some time, and then eventually accepted the role as executive director in 2021. So it's been a really awesome journey throughout the practice. I've learned a lot about the business and the culture and how important that is. And so that's really how I came to be with Dr. Debbie, and then of course with Vance Thompson years later.
Well, let's dig into that journey a little bit more. So you started as her scribe. And you have worked your way up to an executive director, which is a very big role here. So kind of take us through those steps and what encouraged you, and how'd you lean into some of more of those leadership roles?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think the way that I am wired, I find complete success when I see others' cups being filled. And so I think the idea of leadership has always probably lingered in my heart, but never knew really where that would take me. Working along someone that is such a servant leader and leads for others and a leader worth following, I think is extremely inspiring. So I'm very thankful for that I have a colleague, a friend, and a surgeon that I jive with, who has been a huge mentor to me. And so as far as navigating that way, I had always aspired to be a leader in some form or fashion, but as positions opened and as our practice grew within Vance Thompson Vision and Alexandria and surrounding, it just was such a natural progression. And it really was a lot of God moments too that kind of just led me to that, now being the director, which is still kind of crazy when I think about the journey.
I love it. It's a great story, and I think that a lot of learning throughout those steps and growth and leadership is something that we'll get to talk about soon, and so very, very good. Well, let's talk about the ultimate work-life balance, right? So the term work-life balance, which I know some of us believe is not necessarily a true balance, right? There's going to be one that weighs a little bit heavier than the other, but tell me a little bit about what you do to create this work-life balance, because you have 2 boys.
Yeah.
You have a husband who now owns his own business.
Yeah,
So
right?
I would love to hear more about that too.
Yeah,
So.
great question. So I'll be very frank and transparent that I don't believe in work-life balance. It's actually a saying that sometimes makes me squirm a little bit when I hear it, because I don't believe that you can ever achieve true work-life balance. And I think it can kind of create a little bit of where you're on this hamster wheel. There's often times where I feel like I crushed it at work. I was engaging with my team. It was a great day, but I come home and I'm spent.
Yep.
My cup is empty, and maybe I, snapped at the kids for leaving their book bag on the floor, and not maybe the greatest mom moment.
Sure.
And vice versa. Maybe there are moments at work where, you spent so much quality time over the weekend with your family where you're tired when you come to work, and you're maybe not giving it your all like you could and should. So I will be always transparent in that I don't believe there's work-life balance, but what I think is super important is to take time for yourself. And I know that this generation, we talk a lot about how important self-care is.
Yeah, we do.
And I don't know if sometimes it gets lost.
Sure.
But what I do believe is that I think it's the most important thing that one can do for themselves. And if it's carving out 30 minutes of whatever that looks like to you, to fill your cup, because everyone is giving to everyone else throughout their day in this organization. We're loving on our patients, we're loving on our teammates. And I think it's so important to carve out just a little bit of time for yourself so you can kind of have a little bit of peace going into your busy work day, whatever that might look like.
Yeah, it feels like it's the first thing to go, right, when you are
First
busy.
thing.
And so carving out 30 minutes or 15 minutes for a quiet moment, maybe you sit and paint your nails or do
something.
whatever it is.
I mean, even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Another mentor of mine said that our brains really only work in 20 to 25 minute increments. So
interesting.
Oftentimes at my computer, I'll set a timer, and I'm super zoned in, focused on a task for 20 to 25 minutes. Timer goes off, and I take a break. It's not a long break, but 3 to 5 minutes, walk around, grab a drink of water, grab a cup of coffee, and then get back to it. But I think that we don't allow ourselves sometimes, we're just such driven human beings, especially in this organization, where it's super important to remember that it's okay. Take a little 5-minute breather, joke with your buddy next to you, and then get back to it. I think that's really important to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, let's dig into something I mentioned just a minute ago about your husband starting a whole new business, which is super exciting. Talk to us about that journey and the transition that you guys had in your life and how that all played out.
Wow, great question. So yes, my husband started a business last fall. We started construction. It's an indoor golf simulator with full bar and restaurant. It was a passion of his to ultimately be an entrepreneur at some point in his career, and it was the right time and things aligned, and he started it from scratch on his own. I'm so proud of him for that. But it is also not as glamorous as one may seem. It has been a grind, quite honestly. For our marriage, the dynamics have completely shifted from him working an 8 to 5 position that really helped provide for our family to taking that risk financially for our family to be able to do something on his own has been a huge shift.
Of course.
Where, I am now carrying a lot of that weight of being able to provide for our family, and I'm so thankful for that. However, that doesn't come with like this stress-free, easy living.
Right.
So it's been really wonderful. I'm really grateful that he's able to pursue this passion, because there's just like this twinkle in his eye that I've never seen before. But it also, comes with its challenges. So we're navigating it. We hope that, this winter is kind of our busy season, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring people in and
and
out
it's
of the snow into the warm.
Yeah, totally. So it's been awesome, but also not so awesome. I am single momming it in the winter. which is a
Nights.
hard season.
Right, so he's open late nights and
Yep.
then open the weekends. Those are their busy times.
Exactly. So going from, working all day and then single momming at night in the winter, which is not my favorite season. It's hard, and we experienced it for the first time last winter, and now we know what to expect. So again, carving out that self-care is going to be super important for me coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finding time for you and him too.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I have been to Hook and Slice, and it's so fun.
Thank you.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned at that time that you guys try to just you'll pop in whenever you can if you
Yeah.
take a lunch break and go and see him,
Yep.
and just finding little ways to carve out time for you and him. Carve out time for that self-care.
Yeah, my little Diet Coke treat, that's my self-care at times, is my little Diet Coke, and I'll just bop over and say hi and make a point to even spend 15 minutes together is really important.
Absolutely.
A lot easier said than done, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Well, being a mother and a wife who've influenced leaders, tell me a little bit about leadership. Let's go into that.
Oh, man. How much time do we have?
What would you say your leadership style is, and kind of walk through your decision-making process when leadership comes to mind? Wow,
that's a great question. I'd love to have my team here to answer what type of leadership style. I would like to consider, I certainly model my leadership as best as I can after Deb.
Absolutely.
Being that servant leader, I truly find the most success. I know that I can lay my head down easy at night when my team feels fulfilled coming to work. I understand that work can be work, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's always going to be particular tasks, maybe that is a little bit of a grind. However, what Deb and I truly believe in and what we foster and try so hard that we understand that life happens outside of those four walls. And we have a lot of women on our team.
Yeah.
And a lot of young women who are in the thick of these childbearing years and that are coming in with lots of stuff on their shoulders. We have grandmas on our team that are helping care for grandchildren. And so we understand that life is happening outside of those four walls. So if we can be a place of energy giving instead of energy taking, that's what we strive to be. I don't want any of my team to be driving into work ever thinking, I really don't want to go to work today.
Or dreading that Monday morning.
That's right.
Yep.
I'm not naive to the fact that I have those moments.
Sure.
And I think that's real, and I'm going to be transparent with you. I mean, hello, right?
Yeah.
However, in the grand scheme of things, what we do here and how we care for our patients, I believe, is energy giving, and I think that if we can continue to love on our team, it's just a beautiful environment to be a part of. And I believe that. So that's my leadership style in the sense of just really trying to fill their cup so they can provide the best care for our patients.
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
don't know what style you'd call that.
Yeah. I'd say servant leader. You mentioned at the beginning, a servant leader, absolutely.
Yeah. I try and be that listening ear and someone that they can truly trust.
Absolutely.
I have a couch in my office, and I often find people naturally just can come in and sit on the couch.
Need to talk.
If they need 5 minutes. And oftentimes it ends up being a conversation of maybe something that's going on in their lives, and I take great pride in that and great responsibility in that. People can come to me with things that might be going on, and it really helps level set on, I know where my team is at, so I can meet them at that level.
Yeah, perfect. Very good.
Yeah.
That's a lot to handle sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think you're doing it gracefully, so good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, it's tough for the way that I'm wired, because I'm a feeler.
Yeah, you take
very
it home
sensitive.
sometimes.
So what we had done is Dr. Debbie passed out little superhero figurines to the entire team.
Yes, that's my favorite.
And we have them on everyone's desk. Mine's actually hanging right above my computer, and it's a reminder that patients can come in with lots of heaviness too. The team is coming in with lots of heaviness, and the superhero is just to remind you that we can't take on those feelings, but we can still love and care for our patients. But we absolutely cannot be taking on all of those feelings, because we won't
You'll
make
drown.
it. You'll drown.
Yeah.
And so I knew that about myself taking this role, that I needed some sort of coping skills immediately, because I was starting to absorb all of these emotions, because I am such a sensitive soul. And so I knew right then, you got to kind of wear thick skin. Which is totally not how I'm wired, but you learn.
Sure.
You learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, talking to your team when they come in, and it can produce a lot of challenges, right? So talk to me a little bit about what you do to overcome some of those challenges. What are the things that you put in place to ensure they get to the right place?
I think letting them talk through what they're going through, whether personal or professional, and then simply asking the question, which we just learned the other day, what does support look like for you?
Me? Yeah.
And that resonated with me so much. I put it on a Post-it, and I think that's just it.
Yeah.
Because it makes them stop and think, okay. This is really, Shawnda, where I could use you. And maybe it's not, something professional. Like, I just need some support. I don't understand how to, check this insurance.
Sure.
Oftentimes it ends up being, hey, we're very vulnerable with our team. I could just use some extra prayers. And I love that. And that's something I can do really easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's simply that. What does support look like from me? Yeah.
So kind of in that same realm of challenges, tell me about maybe the hardest thing that you've had to work through as an executive director.
Oh, that's a great question. I think, there's always going to be, little personnel things that come up. I think the challenge really early on for me, and I'm still very early on in this role, was learning very quickly that there is no such thing as work-life balance, and mom guilt. So I can't point to one thing in particular. Well, there was this situation. No, it truly for me is navigating all of that, navigating mom guilt, which I don't think ever goes away for me.
Yeah, no, I would second that.
Yeah. So that's the biggest challenge, and continues to be. I mean, how many years into this at this point? For 4 years, I'm still navigating. I came fresh off of maternity leave with my second son, and was named director. And as a, newly postpartum mom of 2 little kids, and all the things that come with that, and then taking on a new role, it was extremely stressful and not glamorous.
Yeah.
Lots of tears. And so I mentioned to a colleague not that long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, that never cry over work.
Never cry over work. Okay.
Never cry over work. It's not glamorous, but don't do it. The work will always be here. Go home, shut it off, and it will be, you'll pick right back up.
Tomorrow.
And I think that's something that I've had to learn myself.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Don't cry.
Don't cry.
Don't cry over work. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
It really
I'll
will
be here tomorrow.
Okay.
And that is very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So again, with challenges, there are some, probably a lot, that worry about imposter syndrome. Is that something you feel like you dealt with, coming from right from maternity leave, from a different position into the executive role? Did you, do you, and how do you handle imposter syndrome?
Yeah, it's very real. I definitely do. On calls, meetings, I am often the last one to speak up. The way that I'm wired, it takes me some time. I want to process through what's being proposed. I think about how a decision being made is going to affect my team, and so I am one that will often sit back in the weeds, and then therefore I think in my own head. That can create some toxic, not true things that are thoughts that are really going on. Where gosh, are people thinking that I really don't know what's going on, or what my process might look like for this, and so you kind of get in your own head and you retreat even further, and then you're not really voicing your opinion at all. 100% I do that you're not credible. But I think you just kind of have to learn to speak up. And that we are a part of an organization that is so welcoming and so loving and professional that you just kind of learn over time, like you're not going to get laughed at or shut down or anything like that at all. It's just, you need to find it in yourself to be able to find the confidence and the courage that, hey, I actually think I have a really good idea. And even if it's not maybe the way we go, it's important for you to speak up and express, excuse me, how that may or may not affect the team. And that's my job.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And
so I think learning more about yourself and pushing yourself to have the confidence to speak up is really important.
Yeah. Something that I feel like I've learned from you, you always have a word of the year, and I am completely blanking on what it was for this year, but I've always noticed that you're not afraid to ask a question. Especially if you don't understand or if you need clarification, you're raising your hand. And I think that speaks volumes of kind of fighting that imposter syndrome. Like, okay, I don't know, so I'm just going to ask the question, and that's how it's going to be. That's how you learn, right?
That's
anyway. Right. So that's something that I've really noticed.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, vulnerability, super important as a leader, I believe. To show that vulnerability in front of your team, in front of colleagues. I have no problem saying, I have no clue what you're talking about. Can you please walk me through that? I think that's super important. My word is, it's kind of a few words, to be more curious.
To be more curious, yes.
That is my word or phrase, I guess, this year. So kind of goes along with vulnerability and to be more curious, to ask more questions.
Yeah, ask more questions.
And to never assume. So,
I love that. Love that. Okay, so let's talk about something fun and something I've noticed that you guys do in your clinic a lot. You enjoy scaring people.
Oh, beware when you come to Alexandria. Yes, we love scaring people. So it started, my husband and I got married on Halloween.
Oh, yes, that's right. And so that anniversary is coming up too.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it started in the sense of I love Halloween. It's just such a fun time of year. And we do, like many of the other sites, trunk or treat, so all the kids come with their costumes. So it's just a really festive, fun, lighthearted time of the year. And I bought a really scary mask like 2 Halloweens ago, and it made it my mission to start scaring people. Of course, payback, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
So now it's really everyone's mission. I mean, we have Dr. Deb scaring people.
It's so funny.
And it's usually nothing real extravagant. It can be just simply hiding behind a wall. Ooh.
Or under a desk.
Or under a desk. People just lose it.
So funny.
Beware when you come and visit, because you just never know who's going to pop out.
Too. Oh man, my anxiety level is just going to be at an all-time high next time. I feel like
it's so good. It's so good. Nothing makes me laugh more than rewatching the video.
Yep,
so,
I would agree. As long as it's not me, I'm fine with it.
For sure.
What else do you guys do fun in the clinic? What are some of the things?
Man.
I know every site's got a fun committee.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, we have a fun committee who rocks. Shout out to my fun committee. They are really fun. They do a lot of our planning for events outside of the 4 walls.
Sure.
So we do a lot of things like the Grape Stomp in Alexandria is a really fun event. Our Halloween, we're actually going to be in the homecoming parade this fall, which will be really great to represent VTV and go-karts. So we do a lot of great stuff. We do just pizza nights out on our patio after a long work day. We keep it light, keep it easy. We do axe throwing, all sorts of good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Watch out, people, if you go visit Alexandria. I'm just warning you. So let's change pace and talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you do personally to just stay Shawnda, right? So I know that you have been on many ventures of marathons and half marathons. You just finished one a couple of weeks ago. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how that has maybe changed you or inspired you to either be a different leader or a different mom or a different spouse.
Yeah, I love telling this story because I get to talk about someone that I look up to in Vance Thompson Vision.
Awesome.
And that's our own CFO, Mark Shawnda.
Yes.
He spoke at our retreat last year, and the theme of the talk, and at the end he said, I didn't know I could could do that. And I thought to myself, I want to be able to say that at some point this year. And so therefore started my running journey. At that point I had started dabbling in running. And let's back up here. I hadn't run a mile since like middle school.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Taking it back.
Like last a couple Februarys ago was the first time I ran a mile since middle school. Not kidding.
Wow.
So when people say I'm not a runner, well, either was I.
Right. Yeah.
But my girlfriend was in a race and she said, hey, let's do this. It was a dual athlon, which was a run, bike, run.
Okay.
So I had to buy a bike. I mean, we're talking like
you like went in deep.
Yeah, I had no clue what I was doing, but we committed and we did it, and it was a lot of fun. I realized with that race, I loved the running part, but not as much the bike. So ditched the bike.
Okay.
Started running, and then I set my sights on a half and completed that last October. Watched my husband cross the finish line of his very first marathon that year and was so inspired. And then you have Mark Scharnberg, who's running all these ultra marathons. I'm like,
100 miles.
So I set my sights on a marathon and signed up and started training.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah, I finished that in June and did one more half just a couple weeks ago.
That is awesome. With your girlfriend,
With
right?
my girlfriend,
Yeah.
so I'm tying up the tennis shoes for the season. I'll still run leisurely, but no races.
No
for
races
the rest
in
of
the
the year.
No, okay, none in the
maybe
future.
maybe in the spring or summer, but
Sure. I can imagine how hard it is to get the miles in during the winter anyway, with
it's
snow,
terrible.
and then you just sit on a treadmill and stare at a wall.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
terrible.
does not sound fun at all.
Glamorous.
I completely get that. Well, let's do something fun. We're going to do this or
Yes,
that
I love
to
this
wrap
game.
this up. All right, here we go. So we know that you're physically active. So do you prefer to work out in the morning or in the evening?
Oh, morning girl, all the way. 4:50 alarm.
I just envy you and being able to do that. I have to do it in the evening. I would love to get up early, but
good for you though.
I'm getting there.
Good job, because I envy people that can work out in the evening, because I would have so many excuses come 6 p.m. on why I wouldn't be able to work out. So good job.
Yeah, well,
That's
thank
really impressive.
Thank you. Okay, lifting or cardio?
Depends on the day. I would say lifting.
Yeah?
Yeah.
After all of the runs and all of the marathons, you say lifting. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed strength training with the marathon. I backed off.
Sure.
And I didn't have time to do strength and running.
Yeah.
And I miss lifting. I feel stronger. It's so good for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say strength probably.
I have too also gotten into more lifting.
Yeah.
I think it's
good
great.
for you.
That's good.
So
As
good
you get
for you.
older,
That's
you're supposed
right.
to be doing that,
Yeah.
right?
I think.
Awesome. Okay, would you prefer to be water or mountains?
Water.
Water. I mean, that makes sense. You guys are on the lake.
Yeah.
Right.
Lake.
In lake life.
10,000 lakes.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, water for sure.
Okay, online shopping or in-store shopping?
Online.
Online.
I mean, I appreciate a brick and mortar, but
Yeah.
where we live, it's just easier sometimes to just hop online. However, you've seen our cute little downtown.
I was gonna say you have all these cute little boutiques downtown.
So I do a lot of shopping there.
Yeah.
But you know, Amazon is
It's
Amazon,
so easy,
yeah.
right? Click and it's there
Yeah.
in 2 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Wine or beer?
Beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah. Nothing's better after a long run, just a nice cold beer.
I love it. All right, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee all the
Yeah,
way. Yeah,
all the
I
way.
would agree.
Yeah. I mean, tea's fine, but
Sure.
I'm a coffee girl.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining us
thank you.
today.
This was great.
We appreciate you listening, and we will see you next time.